and now you're problematic. And
Yeah.
now they start to kind of, remove, or they try to change the narrative. I've had that happen where they kind of create this narrative of
Yeah.
when you're asking for healthy things like, hey, my feelings are really hurt because I'm really trying to build community. And I'm noticing that people are not following through with the things that they're saying they want to do. I got all these invites and then nobody's following through on invites, and that's really hurtful. And now your expectations are too high. Like, oh,
Yes. Yes.
I'm expecting too much for you to do what you said you're going to do. That's interesting.
Welcome to the That's Where I'm At podcast. I'm Laura, happily divorced after spending years with a narcissist. I believe keeping secrets will make you sick and that they always come to light in the end. As women, we're often told to be quiet, don't share your story, don't talk about the things we go through. It's making women sick, sad, and suicidal. We don't have to be on the other side to share our story. This show is for the women still in the middle of the mess, but showing up bravely as they heal. It's time to share these stories with each other so we can learn, grow, and heal together. I'm Laura, and that's where I'm at. Please take note that this episode may contain subjects that may be triggering to certain listeners. Please take care when listening today. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today I have Gabrielle. Gabrielle is a Christian licensed marriage and family therapist, author, content creator, and podcast host passionate about helping people heal from trauma, overcome abuse, and walk fully in their God-given calling. With over 10 years of experience, she specializes in narcissistic and spiritual abuse, church hurt, and identity restoration, bridging biblical truth with clinical mental health care. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I'm so glad you're here.
Aw, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. I mean, all of that is very near and dear to my heart. Unfortunately, I've said this so many times on my show that, narcissists are everywhere and they hide in plain sight. And so I just love talking about it so people can understand that it can happen anywhere and sort of the red flags and what to look out for or what you saw or what you see. And so that way we can warn the others. That's what I always say. We can warn the others.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into doing this specific kind of therapy?
Yeah. Well, I would say that this field actually chose me. I grew up in the church and honestly had a really great experience in the church. My mom, I want to say I was like maybe 7 or 8 when I started going to the church that I grew up in. And from a very young age, I had a very just deep awareness of God.
Hmm.
And with my mom, we moved around a lot every like 6 months or so and had a very strong relationship with the Lord. But at 15, I ended up moving to Minnesota to live with my dad, who was a pastor and a narcissist. And
Wow.
yes, so that was really difficult. As a little girl, I always wanted to have my dad. So I kind of found myself as a little girl really wanting to get my dad's approval and just like be, a daddy's girl. But I started to realize, like with my dad, it was like the bar was like always moving. And he was very controlling and very
Yeah.
manipulative, very abusive in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And it was very hard to reconcile between like his public persona and who he was at home.
Yeah.
Dad's very charismatic, very great with his words. People worship the ground he walked on, and also was very well known in our community because my family
Yeah.
also owned nail salons in Minnesota. And so, like, people would just be like, your dad is amazing, he's a great storyteller and all these things. But like what I experienced at home was like, I mean, severe mental and emotional torment and
Yeah.
abuse. My dad was very controlling about what I could wear. My
Mm.
dad would literally tell me like what I could or couldn't wear. And my hair is naturally curly, and my dad didn't like my hair curly. So he would tell me I had to straighten it.
Oh.
Yeah. Even down to like my nails. Like if my dad didn't like my nail polish color, he would make me change it. And
Hmm.
narcissists have golden children, right? And so I was
Yes.
the golden child.
Hmm.
And it was a very difficult experience because, again, as a little girl, I always wanted to have a dad. So there was this kind of awkward dance of like, well, I want to make my dad happy and I want to make my dad proud,
Yeah.
but I also felt like he was trying to form and shape like who I was. And so
Right.
it's a very strange experience.
To show
Pretty
you
much.
off.
Absolutely.
Well, I
Oh,
want
yeah.
to know too, like, do you feel like, I don't know, do you feel like he had pressure or he heard things from the congregation, like to make sure that you appeared a certain way? Do you think that, I don't know, do you think
No,
that, okay,
no,
he
my
just,
dad,
he just wanted it that way?
that's how he, I was, narcissists are like, you're an extension of me, right? And
Yes.
so
Yes.
everything that like I did was an extension of him, even though he was not involved in my life, formative years and things like
Yeah.
that. He wanted to vicariously live through me.
Yeah.
And so it was like I was a little puppet. I was a little, honestly, like a little doll. And so there was this sense of like I wasn't good enough unless I was pleasing my dad. And if my dad didn't give me approval, then I had to go and change it. It was a very enmeshed and strange dynamic. And he also, because I was the golden child, there was always this weird separation between me and my siblings. And
Okay.
so I was put on this pedestal. He treated me better than all of my other siblings, not realizing they don't realize that I'm being mentally and emotionally beat
Right.
down and told all these things, but like I'm getting nice clothes, I'm getting all the greater opportunities. Not
Right.
to mention, I've been singing and kind of in the entertainment industry my whole life. And so my dad was also trying to get me to become an entertainer. And so he would take me to
Oh,
all these auditions and things like that in his mind that he's supporting me, but kind of almost like pimping me out, if you will, and
right.
exploiting my gifts and my talents. And so that was a really difficult thing too, because there were also times where I was in weird scenarios with men in the industry
Oh,
that were looking at me inappropriately or saying inappropriate things. And I would tell my dad, and my dad wasn't like protective of me. It was more or less like, you know, I'm
this is,
supporting your dreams. And
yeah, and this is
yeah,
what we have to, this is what you have to do to get where you want to
yep.
go, which I don't even know if, did you want to go there? You know what I mean? It's like, did you even want to be an entertainer?
Right. Well, and it's funny though, because my mom also, when I was a kid, my mom also was very much invested in my gifts. So what
Okay.
I learned from a very young age was that I had to perform for love. And
Yeah.
so with my mom, even, and again, I think maybe in their minds, they thought like, oh, we are supporting her dreams.
Yeah.
But for me, and I was a parentified child as well, for me,
Yeah.
I was taught that I needed to make my parents proud and things like
Yeah.
that. So I learned, oh, I need to put on a happy face. I need to entertain. I need to sing. I need to be pretty and cute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I would cry, it was like, no, 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 don't cry, put on a smile, And so I always had to perform for love.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, both of my parents were really trying to get me discovered. They both were like,
Okay.
you're basically a little Beyonce. And so I felt like I was being kind of honestly pimped out by both my parents.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
they
so that,
weren't together, so you were in
no,
two separate households and
yep,
this was happening. Okay. Yeah,
yep.
that's hard.
It is. And so it was tough, but and then living with my dad, it was kind of parsing between him being this pastor and being just awful, vile, saying awful things, tearing me down, telling
Yeah.
me that I wasn't smart enough to go to college. My dad also threatened suicide on me one time because I had gotten a boyfriend, and he told me that he wanted to kill himself because he felt like he was losing his daughter. And then when I told my stepmom that, he got mad and was like, "How dare you tell your stepmom?" And I'm like, "How dare you tell your child?" Like he would
Right.
just put a lot of emotional weight on me. And he
Yeah.
would also like every night, he would come into my room and just literally give me lectures until 2, 3 a.m. and talk at me. And I just remember thinking, like, do you need me for this conversation? So what I will say is my dad was so emotionally overwhelming that what happened for me was I became incredibly avoidant and like
Okay.
and I shut down because like it was overbearing the amount of emotion that he would put on me.
Oh yeah. I remember those lectures as a wife. I remember those where it's like, do I need to be here for this? Like, just
Yeah.
can you like
Did you
record yourself? I mean,
do you want a mirror or
it's just it's ridiculous, and that's got to be so hard. And the abuse, this tell, tearing you down, that part is really to keep you close to home, not really
Yep.
branching out. Because if you are secure in yourself and all that, you might dream different dreams and be something different, and you might leave him, right?
Right.
Like he was worried about. And I want to say something about that, the suicide thing, because I know that women have talked to me about that, and it's easier said than done to be like, look, they're just threatening. They're just threatening,
Mhm.
because they're trying to control you.
Mhm.
But can you speak a little bit on that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a form of manipulation
Yeah.
and to really try to when I think of it, I mean codependency even, when I
Yeah.
think of codependency, it's like you're going on a hike with someone and you're holding a rope and that person jumps, they say, hold this rope into the rope and they jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
And now you're holding on to that rope and they're like, let it go. And you're like, I'm not gonna let it go.
Hmm.
And they're like, now you feel responsible if
Right.
you let go of the rope. And so that's what they want to do is keep you tangled up in their manufactured chaos is what
Yeah.
narcissists do. And that was what was so hard. And again, what they also do is they look for your vulnerabilities and they look for those areas and then they exploit them. Right. And so
Yeah.
I think for me, it was like, well, I want a dad. I want to be a daddy's girl. And so he
Yeah.
really would use that. But once my dad started to realize that I was starting to just get fed up with him, he would then start using like my stepmom because my stepmom and I had
Oh.
a very good relationship. So when he realized that I didn't care about what he had to say anymore, he would go, your stepmom is so disappointed in you.
Oh my gosh.
Is just shaking her head right now. Like he just had to find other people that he thought would actually try to
Yes.
kind of pull me back into his orbit. And then
Yeah.
narcissists also have like fly monkeys that are going to
Right.
do their bidding for them. So it's
Hmm.
there were times where she might come in and say, well, your dad really cares about you, your dad really loves you, or
Right.
they'll give messages to other people to try
Hmm.
to pull you back in.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, but he didn't tell me that, right? Or he
Right.
didn't apologize to me directly. And so then you start feeling kind of like, did I misread it? Am
Right.
am I am I being too much? Or and anytime I would try to set a boundary with my dad too, I was seen as selfish.
Oh yeah.
So and it was like a healthy boundary of like because my dad also was kind of inappropriate with me, like just body wise, boundary wise. And so
Hmm.
I would set certain boundaries around, like, I don't like when you
Yeah.
come into my room when I'm changing, and he would say certain things about
Right.
like me, being selfish or whatever for having
Hmm.
these types of healthy boundaries.
Right.
And so you feel gaslit and then you're like, but what I will say,
Hmm.
here's what was beautiful for me when I eventually broke that cycle because you're trying to get clarity from anybody, but when everybody is kind of in that system,
Yeah.
you play dead in order to survive,
Hmm.
right? And so
Yeah.
you kind of like you stop questioning things because it's almost more crazy making
Yeah.
to try to have a different reality than just
Hmm.
to go with the flow. So you play dead in order to
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first moment where I started to realize, like, okay, something is not right. Because with narcissists,
Yeah.
they basically are like, tell me what the boundary is so I can cross it, right?
Oh my God.
They-
Seriously, like what's the point of setting a boundary? Because they're like, let me just push it to the line. And this is the thing is that, and not only that, it's like, I'm doing your laundry. Okay, now do this. And every time you comply, which doesn't seem like it would be a bad thing, but this is what people don't always understand. It's like every time you give them that inch, they take a mile. And that's how
Right.
all of a sudden you're in full blown abuse and you don't even know up from down because you've let every little thing. And this is not to shame anybody. This is how quickly and how insidious it is. Every little thing, all of a sudden, now
Yeah.
you're deep in it.
Yeah, it's tough when, I wasn't raised with my dad, but
Yeah.
my dad, like, I don't know, there was just certain things that he wanted to do. Like he would come into my room and cuddle every night when I was like, 3 or 4 a.m. and like kind of spoon me and I would feel uncomfortable and I would
Yeah.
jump out of bed and he would say horrible things to me, like, no man's
Yeah.
gonna ever marry you because you don't know how to be affectionate. And then I'm like, is this
Right.
affection or what is going on? And then he would say things like, And so then you're kind of like confused about like,
Yeah.
okay, well, is this affection? Is this appropriate? And then,
Right.
and then he would say, sometimes I'm worried that I'll never have the relationship with you that I want to have. And in my head, I'm like, what kind of relationship do you want to have?
Yes. Like, what does that even mean? I
And,
mean,
and I'm like, I don't. And so it was just always so awkward, so uncomfortable. And
yeah.
so you set these boundaries. But what I will say that this was also a time where my therapist had said, this is when you saw your dad's pathology. Again, narcissists don't see the difference between you and them, right?
Right.
You're an extension of them. And so
Okay.
when I was about uh, 16 or 17, my dad threw a party for me and he invited all my friends and I didn't want to have a party. Like
Mm.
and he loved to have people over so he could showcase how beautiful his home was. And so my friends come over and we're downstairs in the basement and he wants to show a gift that he got for me. And my dad was the worst gift giver. When I
Oh,
tell you, like his gifts were
oh
embarrassing.
no. And then he wanted to show everybody. Oh God.
I was
Okay.
like, please don't. And so
Yeah.
he's like, everybody come, please sit down. Everybody, I've got a gift for my daughter. Just so for
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Sits everybody down. And he's like, here's a gift for you, Gabrielle. So I open it up and it's a portrait. And the portrait is a painting of me. My dad was a photographer and he always loved taking pictures of me. It was a portrait of me. And in the portrait, I'm looking in a mirror. And in the mirror is a painting of my dad. And underneath it, it says, made in my father's image.
Is it okay if we're laughing? I mean, Jesus.
I was like, I'm crying because what?
Wait a second. Okay, so you hadn't seen it and then he's showing it to you in front of everybody. Oh my God. Oh my
I
God.
like when I tell you, like, I felt like my heart sunk into my stomach and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna vomit. Like, that
Ah.
is wow. And so they have like a God complex.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's like, and what I also like to say, like, when I kind of work, because work with Christians as well, because narcissism is rampant in the church and things, but I think
Yeah.
narcissism is being more worried about what people think about you than what God thinks about you.
Oh, yeah, for
Because
sure.
there is no way that you really have a relationship with God when you think you are God, when you think you're
Yeah.
above God, when you think that the rules don't apply to you. And so for him to say made in my father's image, I was like,
Oh my
so
gosh. That's
those,
horrifying. I mean,
yeah,
I want to touch on what you just said because I do believe that narcissists can hide in plain sight in churches because if there's the aspect of like, we know like there's, rules or systems in place, whatever, they seem to be able to hide in that. It's like, oh, you should be doing this, this, and this. And this is how sometimes they can control you or that it
Mhm.
can look like control. That at least that's been my experience. And I feel like so many women I've talked to in my groups that are saying that they're like, oh yeah, he was a pastor, he was a whatever. In every religion, I've had every religion, that they talk about this because they like this is how I'm going to control you with these arbitrary rules from the Bible or
Mhm.
whatever.
Absolutely. So I always like to say, like, there's like two types of Christians, right? You have the ones over here who are like, we're called to love and seven times 70, and we're supposed to forgive, and like if they slap one cheek, let them hit the other, right?
Yeah.
These are like the super empaths over here. And then you have the other ones over here who are just like, only God can judge me. And how dare you like call out the speck in someone's eye when you have a log in your own? Like you have these
Yes.
people over here and they fight each other. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Because the people who are just super, super like, well, you got to forgive seven times 70. And these are people like, yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. And so that's why they find each other. I would say that Christians, especially Christian women, are very, very almost prone and
Yeah.
even primed to find themselves in abusive relationships
Yeah.
because the church almost primes you for that. It's about honor and submission and obeying. And
Yeah.
if they don't have their own relationship with Father,
Yeah.
they will find a man of God
Hmm.
who benefits from all these quote unquote rules that they're supposed to submit under. And you also have, again, I love working with Christians, but sometimes there's some of the most underdeveloped because there's a lot of outsourcing responsibility.
Okay.
So it's a lot of, okay, just tell me what to do to be a good, Christian woman. And it comes down to identity, right? Like, I just want to be a good girl. I just want to be a good Christian,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Um, And so I'm going to just do what I'm told to do.
Yeah.
But realistically, like we are called to submit to our husbands as long as they are submitted to God,
That's
which
the part that people forget. I'm like, if I heard one more time, or even like, I mean, I stayed and prayed. Okay. Like all the Christians listen know exactly what I mean. I stayed and prayed for 25 years and it's like, okay, but he wasn't doing anything. And I had to have, after my divorce, I had good Christian friends who were like, he had free will and he chose that. He chose to do the other
yep,
thing. And so I know when I left my marriage, I'm like, I tried everything, but you have to have two willing participants. And he was choosing his free will to do whatever he wanted to do. And so
right.
it's heartbreaking because I love it. It's like we each have a responsibility in that relationship. It's not just the women though. Listen, we are very societalized, aren't we? To
Yep.
and like we have a especially in the church, I think sometimes we have such a responsibility to keep praying and be a better wife and be more submissive and give, more sex or whatever it is. And you're a
Mhm.
better you're a better quote unquote better wife. Um and then that's supposed to fix them. But that's not our
Mhm.
job. It's not our job.
Really, really not. And I think there's also a spiritual component to
Yeah.
narcissism, though, too, because I definitely would say when I work with my clients, I can almost always predict what they're going to say or do. It's like there's a script, but
Yeah.
really, truly, there is a spirit of Leviathan and a
Oh,
spirit of Jezebel, right?
yes.
Narcissists are prone to cheat. And when it comes to like the confusion where you're like,
Yeah.
how did this happen? The gaslighting, that is a spirit of Leviathan. It
Yes.
literally will twist up your words and get you in bewilderment.
Mhm.
One of my friends calls it the Narc Fog, where you're just like, wait, what way is up and down and who did
Yeah.
what and who how, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's because as Christians, we want to believe the best in people, and we're taught to forgive and all of that. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the other person also has to be actively walking out their salvation and,
Yeah.
actively pursuing God. And so, yeah, and it also comes down to self-worth too. I think this
Yeah.
is what I think is a big problem in the church is women are honestly kind of socialized to think like find your man and have your babies and that whole
Mhm.
entire thing that we're sold, that dream we're sold.
Yeah.
As so many young Christians that just want to rush into marriage. And
Mhm.
I've seen horror stories of marriages, young Christian people that have gotten married and don't know who this person is because they're portraying that they're a good Christian guy
Right.
until they get what they want. And now they're either full-blown sex addicts, they're addicted to pornography. They're not really a man after God's own heart. And now you're married. And so this comes down to really people doing a lot of their own inner healing work before they find themselves in these types of relationships.
I've seen that as well. And I've met people who have told me the same thing. I had a friend who's LDS and she was the good girl and did all the right things and then got married and then the horror began. The things
Mm,
that she saw behind closed doors was horrifying. And that breaks my heart because like she was doing what she thought she was supposed to be doing and, doing all the things she thought she was supposed to be doing. But I also saw people getting married at 19 because they wanted to have sex. I mean, that's really what I saw. It's
yeah,
like, do you really want to get married right now? I mean, but it's so true. We are sold that dream and that we're not whole unless we have somebody. And for me, that's definitely what I had to work on. The minute I left my marriage was who am I and what is my worth outside of everything else? Like, what does God think of me? What do I think of me? I mean, like, I don't even like myself because I've been being told for so long how unlikable I am in so many arenas. So that's definitely what I love talking about now. It's like, how much do you love yourself? Like, can you walk through this world and just love yourself without the outside
that's
validation? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the quality of your life is directly correlated to the quality of your relationships.
Wow.
Your marriage is the probably one of the most important decisions that you're ever going to make outside of a faith journey.
Yeah.
And that person has the ability to make or break you.
Hmm.
And it's better to be single than wish you were. When
Yeah.
I tell you the horror stories that I've seen for doing marriage and family therapy for 10 years,
Yeah.
that is honestly what gives me so much peace about being single. Now, granted, I do want to be married one day if that's what, God has for
Hmm.
me. I'm totally like I'm willing and but I somebody healthy
Right.
because the horror stories of what you will navigate with somebody who is not healthy,
Yeah.
not submitted to God, not whole, that'll affect your health, your mental
Hmm.
health, everything. And again, like for the young, Christians who like want to hurry up and have guilt-free sex, I was just actually having a conversation with my therapist about this. And I'm like, here's my thing. When we talk about in the Bible, love is patient, love is kind. How do you really know you love somebody if you want to hurry up and get married to them within like a month or two? Like, is that
Yeah.
is that love or is that lust?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Because love is patient. That means you're going to, get to know them over
Mhm.
time. The things that I also talk about, like with my clients, is rules without revelation equals resentment, which looks like rebellion.
Right.
There is a
Exactly.
rule,
Yeah.
but I do not have a revelation as to why I'm supposed to wait until marriage. If that doesn't resonate with you,
Right.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You better sit and ask God, why is this the rule? And help change my heart because it's not about behavior modification, it's heart transformation. A lot
Right.
of people, and this isn't just about spirituality, because I know some people who are listening may not be into that,
Yeah.
but this is also about even deep therapy work. This is
Hmm.
about self-worth work, is
Yes.
what actually aligns with my values. Am I living in congruence?
Yeah.
Does what I'm doing on the outside match how I feel on the inside?
Right. And that's going to come down to those safe spaces, right? Where
Mhm.
you're walking, because that took me a long time to, and unraveling all that, like the people that were around me. But now the friends I have around me, the places I'm at, the conversations I can have, so safe. I've never had such safe places to be able to just say what I'm feeling and have friends who are like, "Oh, that's interesting," or whatever. We're actually having healthy conversations. We can tell each other, "Okay, that's crazy talk," or whatever. But to
Yes.
have these conversations, like, I feel so safe. And I think
Yes.
that's sometimes if I just remember being in unsafe places. Now I'm looking back and they were unsafe, where you have to put on a facade, right? So it
Mhm.
didn't match what I really felt on the
Mhm.
inside.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and that's really why then people then attract narcissists
Okay. Yeah.
because you're not being authentic or congruent. And it's very possible that you don't know who you are,
Yeah.
right? Because what I
Right.
will tell you will repel a narcissist is authenticity.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Authenticity will make a narcissist go, ugh, because you are not able to be controlled, right? You're
Right.
like, I'm going to be who I am unapologetically. I'm going to let my light shine. I don't care what you have to say,
Yeah.
right? Somebody who's
Right.
healthy is going to appreciate that, but a narcissist is looking for someone who they can control and
Yeah.
who they can manipulate. The
For sure.
minute that you are not able to be manipulated, they lose interest and they're going to go find another target. So when you think about, again, petri dish, church spaces, high control environments, high
Yeah.
control religious environments are a very, very prime place to
Yeah.
find someone who's going to be, that good little wife. And there's something called the Madonna-Whore Complex that happens a
Okay.
lot in these spaces. So the Madonna-Whore Complex is the Madonna is like the sweet, innocent, virginal wife.
Hmm.
She's sweet, she's innocent, she is the mother of my children and the wife. And then you have the whore. And the whore is someone who they want to have all this like ravenous sex with, and they want to just do all these things. God forbid them be the same person. And so what they do
Oh,
is they do the splitting because this person is appropriate on the outside.
yeah.
This person is going to give me external validation. They look good next to me, right?
Yeah. Right.
But then there's the whore who again, narcissists are very prone to cheat. This is the whore over here. This is the person where they're sleeping around,
Yeah.
cheating, doing all this other type of stuff with. And they also treat them really badly because they don't respect them either.
Right.
And so this is what happens a lot with women in these types of spaces and things like that, because you're trying to be this like, let me just love him into treating me better. Let me just be the good wife. Let me
Yeah.
just change who I am. He doesn't respect either woman. but she's not fully integrated in all of who she needs to be. And she's continually putting up with all of that. And
Right.
then he's going to make you feel bad because he's over
Right.
just destroying you.
It's still, I mean, I remember being in that situation and with my ex, and just I just needed him to approve of me. I literally spent, I don't know how many years of my life, because I don't know, I've been a Christian for 27 years, and I
Yeah.
had Bible study books up the wazoo, and they all said, like, I wish my husband would like me. Like, it's so
Mhm.
sad, but it's that kind of thing. It's so out of his mouth, because he's a narcissist. He would say he loves me, and I'd be like, okay, he loves me, but I don't think he likes me.
Yeah.
And that I longed for that. And so it was that's what I lived off of. That's why when I got divorced, I'm like, I have to figure out, do I like me? I have to figure, I have to figure that out for sure.
Totally. Well, and you have to think about too, like, well, what version of myself did I have to be to get him to
Yes.
love me? And also, like, how does he define love? Because this love
Oh, for
hurt.
sure. I mean, and sometimes I wonder, do they really know deep down what love is, or are they going through the motions of what love is?
So narcissists have deep seated, deep rooted attachment
Okay.
issues,
Yeah.
really, really disturbed attachment issues, and they have extremely low self-esteem.
Yeah.
They don't love who they are, right?
Right.
And so they're always looking for an external supply, right? For someone to tell them how amazing they are, for someone to build up their self-worth, whatever that is. And then the
Yeah.
minute that you're not giving them that, that's why they have to go and find supply elsewhere,
Yeah.
because they don't have their own internal self-worth.
Hmm.
Uh, and so, no, they also really lack empathy, right? Because they're
Yeah.
so, so disconnected from who they are. And they, again, they're putting on this grandiose persona,
Hmm.
because they learn like who is acceptable on the outside. They learn
Yeah.
what do people like, and they really spend a lot of time kind of perfecting that image. They're great actors, but the people who are closest to them, they see all the fragmented parts of them, and that's why you get the worst of it, because you
Right.
actually see behind the mask. And when you unmask a narcissist, that is the absolute worst time,
Yeah.
right?
I know. That's why I named my book Married to a Nice Guy, because, I was like, so many people would say, oh, your husband is such a nice guy. And I'd be like, where? Like, what are you talking about? And so,
Mhm.
really, I thought it was me. I thought I just wasn't trying hard enough to see it, because he would
Mhm.
also yell at me and
Mhm.
say, everybody likes me except you. And I'd be like, oh God, maybe it's true. Maybe I just
Mhm.
don't see it. But then I would think, are you a dick to everybody the way you are to me? Because I don't think you are.
Right. Yeah, well, it's funny that you say that because my dad my dad would say things like he would like to go overseas and like help people out in like Vietnam and things like
Okay.
that. He's like, "Ah, when I go over to Vietnam, people have a picture of me on their fireplaces and things like that, and they worship the ground I rocked on." I'm like, then go to Vietnam. Like, let them have you. You know what I mean? Like,
Seriously, like, God, I mean, it's just so, yeah. And so well, especially I was with him for 33 years. So it's a long time. And of course, I thought everything was my fault. And because he told me it was. So, of course, I had to
yeah,
unravel a lot of that. And
yeah,
I did start once he sent me to therapy in 2016. And
of
that's
course
where
he
I
did.
found my voice. So,
Amen.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, therapy saved my life. Thank you for sending me. Well, because,
Absolutely.
I had to go to become better than I was, because I just was so negative and I was such a terrible wife and all these things. But that's really where I found my voice. And I started to have a voice. I started to set boundaries, and thus started the discard, that's fine. I'm glad now, but it didn't make any sense to me at the time. But I want to talk about that cycle of abuse,
Yeah.
and I saw it in church spaces. Do you
Mhm.
see it in church? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to hear it, from someone who's actually doing this, because I do see the cycle of abuse. So I kind of want to touch a little. We can do like a real quick, just touching on some of it, but I sure did see, I saw the love bombing, right? That kind of
Yes.
thing. Just like
Yes.
the beginning of a date, the beginning of a relationship, it's like, oh, they swoop you off your feet and you're like, you're so great. You should be in leadership and you should be doing the head of this and you should be doing that.
Hilarious.
So that's what I saw at the
Hilarious,
beginning.
hilarious that you say that. So, yes, absolutely. Church spaces do that. Unfortunately, There's a lot of church systems are very narcissistic in nature. Is it
Yes.
that everybody in leadership is narcissistic? No. But
Right.
are they participating in a narcissistic system? Yes.
I love that you said that because I totally believe that. I've had discussions with friends from the churches we've been in and like, what about this person? And I'm like, you know what? The system is
It's a
messed
system.
up. It's messed up and they are a product of their environment. And
It's
it's sometimes some people are stuck in it and there's no getting out of that because of
yeah.
maybe their own things. Maybe they don't want to get out. I mean, we're all
Yes.
getting something out of
Yeah.
it.
Well, and here's the thing, the reason why, and it's church systems, it can also be like work corporate dynamics, right?
Yeah.
The reason why it's because it's about power and control.
Yes.
Anytime there's something called power and control and there's something to be lost, yeah, it's got elements of a narcissistic system, right?
Yeah.
So church environments, yeah, like they are looking for people who are highly talented, highly skilled, because there's a lot of work to be done in a church system, right?
Yeah.
Like I like to say that there's like 10% of the people doing 90% of the work. I've experienced this myself. They love bomb you. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
you're so amazing. La, la, la. Let's all go to we should go to coffee. Da, 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 getting all this special treatment,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you're like, oh wow, like everybody's so nice. That's so amazing. Da, 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 da. And
Yeah.
then unfortunately, when you're a little too healthy and you start like using your voice and stuff like that, then all of a sudden they're just like, oh,
Yeah.
she's setting
Mm.
boundaries. Oh, like we don't really like that. We're not going to follow through on the invite. We're going to, not start scheduling her as much. Whatever you start noticing that when you start kind of,
I
speaking
noticed
up,
it too. I mean, it's so
you start
true.
speaking up, and now you're problematic. And
Yeah.
now they start to kind of, remove or they try to change the narrative. I've had that happen where they kind of create this narrative of when
Yeah.
you're asking for healthy things like, hey, my feelings are really hurt because
Mhm.
I'm really trying to build community. And I'm noticing that people are not following through with the things that they're saying they want to do. I got all these invites and then nobody's following through on invites, and that's really hurtful. And now your expectations are too high. Like, oh,
Yes. Yes.
I'm expecting too much for you to do what you said you're gonna do. That's interesting.
That's such a gaslighting. It's so
Totally,
manipulative to flip it over onto you that you're the problem.
absolutely.
I
Uh,
felt like such a problem towards the end of
yeah,
my church experience that because I like to ask questions and I like to ask like what's this and why
yeah,
are we doing it this way and why are things happening this way and I was just told I was too difficult and I'm like
yeah.
now I see in hindsight now I see I'm like oh I asked too many questions. That's what it
Too
was.
many questions because again, they know how to pick people that are gonna put their head down and just not ask questions, right? The thing I
Yes.
think about that's so funny is we are called to be peacemakers, not peacekeepers. But those type of
Yes.
systems, they thrive on peacekeepers. And how
Right.
you keep the peace, you don't say anything.
Yeah.
It survives on silence, right? Even if you see something that's going on that isn't right, keeping a silence is how you are a peacekeeper. But a peacemaker is when Jesus was flipping over tables. A
Right.
peacemaker
Exactly.
is when Jesus is writing in the sand and then he says, hey, those of you who have not sinned, go ahead and cast the first stone. That's a peacemaker. He's confrontational, right?
Yes.
And
Exactly. Yep.
he's calling people out. But again, you don't want to call out a narcissistic system because it is all about power and control. So
Yeah.
what they're going to do is they're going to either silence you or discard of you because you are too difficult,
Yeah.
because you are not complying to the system. You're not asking for anything wrong. You're asking for basic like follow through.
Yeah.
You're asking for relational reciprocity. You're
Hmm.
asking for clarity, which you should have. You're asking
Hmm.
for support of empathy, validation. And
Hmm.
again, a lot of these church systems are, unfortunately, they're also businesses too.
Right.
And so
Exactly. Yeah.
they're like, we don't have the capacity for this right now, and it sucks, right? And
Yeah.
and I also think that again, there are people who are not bad people by any means. They
Right.
are just doing what their role is. They are complicit though in the abuse and they don't even realize it. You
Yes.
are complicit in the abuse. And what makes me really sad though is a lot of these people were actually raised up in these type of systems, right?
Yeah.
They may have been already been raised up in the church. They may have had childhood abuse and neglect going on. And so what
Yeah.
happens is they grew up in environments where maybe their thermostat was set at 90 degrees and
Hmm.
their tolerance for abuse and all of that is already pretty high.
Yeah. Makes
So then they
sense.
find themselves in these systems that mirror what they experienced in childhood.
Yeah.
And they go into it. Sometimes they may not even be aware, right? They may not even be aware they're in the narc fog. They don't
Right.
see what's going on. They don't see what the problem is.
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to flip on the lights or turn the temperature down, if you will, they're like, why are you doing that? Everybody else is good with it.
Exactly. And that's the part, that's why I've had so many discussions with friends where we've all left churches and just from the outside going, do they know? Do they know? How about them? Do they know? And it's like, and I think we've come to this kind of conclusion. It's like they're in the system, they don't see it, or
Mhm.
they're going along with it. Because
Mhm.
I remember being in leadership and I said something to a very close friend of mine. And she said, if you want to keep this position, you will learn to be quiet.
So there you
And
go.
and at that time, that was what I was willing to do. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And so I was quiet at
Yeah,
that time. I wanted to keep that position. So I was quiet. And I
exactly.
mean, we've talked about it since then because we both don't believe that way anymore. But yeah, I went along with it because I wanted, you and I were talking beforehand. It's like I wanted to fit in so badly. I was willing to do that. I was willing to compromise myself like that.
And it's so sad what it does to you and your integrity, right? And even like
Yeah.
your soul, where it's just like when you, especially like in a church dynamic, it's like, because you also have people who are coached on how to be in leadership, right?
Yeah.
They coach you on this is the narrative, this is how we're doing it, this is how we're treating this person, this is what we're going with. No, don't we don't
Yes.
talk to them anymore. Whatever it is, they're being coached, right?
Yeah.
And the sad thing, again, you're being complicit in this narcissistic and abusive system,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But the sad thing is like in your heart of hearts, do you really believe that that's how Jesus would want you to handle somebody? In
Right.
your heart of hearts, if you see abuse going on, or if you see someone being silenced, or, is that really how you think Jesus would want you to handle that?
Yeah.
And they go against that because they're more worried about pleasing people than pleasing God.
Right.
Again, the narcissism. I'm more worried about what other people think about me than what God thinks about me.
Yeah.
And we have to think about this. I'm like, guys, when we get to heaven, God's going to ask us, did you learn to love
Right.
God and love others?
Yeah.
And think about all the people that were being hurt because we were more worried about pleasing these people. And then on top of that, you also have to think about it again, though. Some of these people are victims. They're victims of the
Oh, yeah.
system. And
Right.
and so there's a part of that too where it's like you have to think about all the things that they would have to give up to push back on the system.
Oh,
They
yeah,
would
for sure. Yeah.
their jobs, their livelihood,
Yes.
losing a whole community, right? You got to literally think I would
Yeah.
have to give up my entire life if
Yes.
I was going to use my voice. And so therefore, I'm just going to be silent. I'm going to turn the other cheek. But
Yeah.
again, that's also why there's not a whole lot of deep transformation and a lot of toxicity going on in these systems
Yeah.
because people are not uh they're not being true to themselves.
Because
And
can you really, like, from my own experience, could I even really be quote unquote true to myself? What did that even mean? Like to me, I remember thinking back, how can I conform? Is
Mhm.
how can I follow? Because this is what I'm being told is the way I
Right.
will fit in and conform. And this is what a good Christian does and a good woman does and all this. I don't know that I ever took the time to say, like, what do I really believe and how would I be true to myself until I really
Yes.
started
Mhm.
deconstructing and unraveling everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think when I was deep in the system, no, that wasn't anything. It didn't feel like there was a freedom to do that.
No, not at all. Because yeah, like because you want to be liked and you want to be accepted. I found myself when I went
Yeah.
into a system where yeah, you kind of because here's the thing that also happens, and we have to think about it this way. Again, it's trauma, right? So
Yes.
not every person who's in the system is a narcissist. They are
Right.
a lot of them are honestly victims of the system, right?
Yeah.
There's a part in your brain called the anterior cingulate.
Hmm.
And the anterior cingulate only lights up when you experience hunger, thirst, or social rejection.
Wow.
So the idea that you would be cut off from your community, excommunicated, it
Yeah.
literally hurts just as bad as dying of hunger or thirst. When you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
one of the basic pieces of is a sense of belonging. I need
Right.
to feel like I belong. So tell me what I need to do to belong so that I don't feel like I'm being left behind to die by myself. What
Yes.
what parts of myself do I need to get rid of? Do I need to shame? Do I need to suppress? Do I need to pretend don't exist? Do I need to medicate
Right.
away? Do I need to drink away? Tell me
Right.
what I need to do so that I can be a part of this group. And when
Right.
it comes to really learning how to take sense of agency of your life, you have got to do that internal work where
Right.
you go, who am I and what are my values and what is my walk with God look like? That is a very unique and
Yeah.
individual experience.
Well, yes, that's what it's supposed to be. But
But a
but
lot
sometimes
when
when
you
you're
have right
yeah, go
group
ahead.
think though, when you're a part of group think, it's
Yes,
why
exactly.
I don't do well in group dynamics because I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you really think? Not what the group thinks, what do you think?
Right. And I mean, but I've been in that. Like I remember being in that. It's like there is no the being in that group thing. There was I just remember there was no way I was gonna think any other way because that was such a deep need, especially being in an abusive marriage where I needed him to validate me and love me and all that. I sure wasn't going to buck the system in a church where I felt really loved and accepted and all that. I wasn't going to. I was going to
Yeah.
go along, even if I had some qualms about things.
Well, and then you think about it, who do I have to be in order to be loved? Who do I have to be? You
Yeah.
learn that now it becomes performative,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I need to be quiet. I need to not rock the boat. I can't ask questions, right?
Yeah.
You learn it's performative of who do I need to be in order to be lovable in this particular system, right? And the longer you do that, it's like it's yourself abandoning yourself.
Hmm.
You're taught that who you are is not lovable.
Right.
Who you are at your core is not lovable. So you change all these different things about yourself. And again, the thing about like narcissists though is the target is always moving.
Yes,
The
exactly.
target is always moving.
Yeah.
And so it just erodes your soul when you're
Yeah.
trying to get external validation
Right.
from a community, a partner
Yeah.
that is a narcissist.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to come back to yourself and to even learn who you are
Yeah.
because having a voice doesn't benefit you in those systems.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. Yeah, that's why it's so important and why I talk about it so much. I'm sure you do too. It's like we have to focus on our self-worth and our internal validation. I lived off of external validation from
Mhm.
everywhere and had to get to the point. Of course, it comes with age, being over 50, going like, I don't care. I don't care what you say to me. But that takes work because a lot of things fell away. The communities I had around me, the people I had around me, some of them are not there anymore because Laura with boundaries didn't make sense. It
That's
didn't make
right.
sense. But at the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm okay because I chose to work on my self-worth. I like myself when I look in the mirror. And that's what
Yeah.
really mattered. I had never done that before.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about that, if you take that as a part of, faith, and again, I know not everybody is
Yeah.
is a believer, but you think about it where we are called to love God, ourselves, and others, right? And it says,
Yeah.
love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you love your neighbor?
Right. Yes, exactly.
And so that unfortunately is what ends up creating this cycle of abuse or this cycle where it's just like the narcissist doesn't love themselves. And now they're with somebody who also doesn't love themselves. And now they create children who don't love themselves. And then you go
Yes.
to a system who doesn't love themselves. Like it's this constant thing. Imagine like what it would look like if we actually had healthy Christians who were one, living in their calling, walking out their actual identities, and truly just moving from a place of total love and acceptance, how much healthier the world would be.
Hmm.
And when you talk about once you started to heal and grow, you realize how many people don't fit that container anymore.
Right.
But we're not called to be contained, right? We're
Right.
not called to be in the spit in a box. No, 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 no. Take up space. Color outside the lines. Have a voice, right? Like
No,
that.
you're not conforming. So no, do not color outside the line. I mean,
No
that was the
leader.
message we've heard so many times. It's like, oh, no, no, that's not the way we're doing it. You got to do it this way. Yeah, that's
Mhm,
why it was so confusing. Listen,
mhm,
it's
mhm.
so great. Okay, so we're going to have to start wrapping it up a little bit. So, oh my gosh, I think we've solved a lot of the world's problems, but
Yes.
there's still more to there's
I
still
think
more to
so too.
solve. So you do private practice working with people. Okay, so tell
Mhm.
everybody where they can find you, and we will put everything in the show notes so that if they want to reach out, and who is an ideal person to come to you and what are they thinking, so that they would come to you and say, like, I think I need to talk to her.
Yeah, I would say I love working with Christians. I specialize with Christians who are overcoming narcissistic and spiritual abuse. And anybody who's really just trying to like work through any like religious trauma, you want to go through like a religious detox and just get all that off of you
Yeah.
so that you can, be all that you're called to be. I can give you the link to it. It's called Hello Alma, is where I,
Okay.
see
Yep.
clients through. Yeah, and I mean that's mostly what it is. I am also working on a program to help women overcome narcissistic and spiritual abuse. That
Awesome.
I'll give you my link to my Instagram and just kind of follow along. I mean, my
Yeah.
page is all about faith, fun, fashion, friends, family, but we also talk about mental health through all of those lenses.
I love that.
Um, yeah, and I just help my clients really learn how to express themselves through art when words don't come as easy. And so, very much a creative expressive arts therapist, if you will. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I wish we could have talked for 5 hours, but that's the way it goes. But thank
Yeah.
you, like, seriously, thank you so much for talking to us. I mean, I think we've shed some light on so many good stuff, so many good things. And so if anybody is interested in working with you, we'll put everything in the show notes. And guys, if anything resonated with you today, please reach out to Gabrielle. And of course, leave a review, a 5-star review, wherever you're listening right now. We really appreciate it. Gabrielle, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experience with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Thank you for joining me today on the That's Where I'm At podcast. Did the story today resonate with you? Do you think others would benefit from hearing the stories we are telling? Please go to Apple or Spotify right now to leave a review so everyone in podcast land will know you love the show. We want to continue sharing stories of hope and healing. I'll be back next time. I'll talk to you then.